Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. Our mission at City Current is to power the good, and we do that through positive media, events, and philanthropy. This show features interviews with a mix of business and community leaders who discuss important efforts, trends, lessons learned, and ways to get involved so we can learn more about our community and work together to make a difference. Now, on to the show.
Now here's your host, Andrew Bartolotta.
Welcome to the City Current Show, where we spotlight individuals and organizations powering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and today's conversation is one that I'm personally excited about. For decades, I've been someone who loves design shows, watching the creativity, the transformation of spaces, and the entrepreneurs behind it all. And today I'm joined by one of the most recognizable and inspiring voices in that space. Dr. Egypt Sherrod is an Emmy-nominated television host, a real estate expert, designer, author, and entrepreneur. Many of you know her from HGTV's hit series Married to Real Estate, as well as Property Virgins and Flipping Virgins. But beyond television, Egypt is also the CEO of Indigo Road, a speaker, author, and champion for women entrepreneurs around the world. And she'll also be featured locally for the Junior League of Memphis Develop Her Women's Summit happening Friday, March 27th at the Renaissance Convention Center. It'll be a powerful gathering designed to help women step boldly into their purpose and leadership during what this year's theme calls In Her Era. Egypt, welcome to the show.
Andrew, thank you. What an incredible introduction.
Of course. I know that you did radio too, so I'm like, I gotta bring it.
Great job. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and to be headed to Memphis. I heard you just mention that. This is exciting. Any opportunity I get to fellowship and just sit in sister soulship with women, I love it. I think that was probably my calling, even maybe beyond design. So
yes,
this be wonderful.
For sure. So what were some of your early influences that shaped your interest in real estate, design, and media as well?
You know, I didn't see anyone who looked like me in real estate or design when I was coming up. And so I honestly had to sort of carve my way and piece together information and inspiration from many. Candace Olsen, you might remember her because you said you loved HGTV. So for me back in the day, Candace Olsen was the go-to girl. So anything that, I learned about just tips, tricks, DIYs, I would try it. I'd see her do it and say, if Candace could do it, I could do it. But that is where I really started just busting my chops, if you will, in design. And then naturally, organically, by being a real estate professional, working with builders, being an investor myself, I had plenty of opportunities to stretch myself and make the mistakes in the field in design to really hone my skill, if you will. So, what I would tell anyone to take from this is my story is one of reinvention. Literally, I was a maid. I was cleaning hotel rooms, but I had a dream to be a broadcaster, to be on the radio. And I went from being a maid to being a #1 radio personality in New York City, the #1 media market of the world. And then I realized very quickly that ownership had to be where it was for the next chapter of my life. But how would I do that? And it had to be about a niche, one that is truly in alignment with your passion and your purpose. For me, it was real estate at the time. And I jumped headfirst into real estate while balancing, like many of us do, a career that pays the bills, and gives you the benefits with our passion career. And that turned into a television show for me. But still, even inside of all of that, I knew I had another calling, another passion. But how does one continue to reinvent themselves even after the age of 40 and pregnant at that? I was 42 and pregnant with Harper, knowing that I wanted to also design, but would people take me serious? Would they think that I was no longer in real estate? Would they think I'm flailing all over the place? And that's the moment, that's the crossroads that many of us face, where we have to push through and find the courage. Many people just start. A lot of the successful stories we read about and those who inspire us, there was really nothing spectacular except the fact that they got up every day and said, I'm just going to start. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And that is where courage is found. Fearless doesn't mean being absent of fear. It means every day you choose to do it anyway, you fear a little bit less. Right. So, so that is how, and this is some of the stuff we're going to talk about when you guys who are coming out to the Develop Her Women Summit, Friday, March 27th in Memphis, this is what we're going to talk about. Real stories, my stories. I don't hold back about reinvention, turning my passion into purpose, not losing yourself, ladies, while we balance family and career, but then also the mindset shifts that we have to take towards success, owning our voice, owning our purpose. And then for those of you who want to start a business, steps on how to start and scale a business and build your personal brand. So a lot of stuff to talk about, Andrew.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You are such a powerhouse. And I love that your story of reinvention and continuously following your purpose and your passion. And I can tell that faith has a lot to do with it as well. You're the CEO of Indigo Road, which the story about naming it in itself is inspiring. It spans, real estate, design, home furnishings. What inspired you to really expand into the entrepreneurship at that level?
That's a very good question, because some people would say I'm crazy right now with all that's going on around me in my businesses. But it was the next chapter. Anything, and thank you for nodding toward faith, because you've got to have a core, someplace that you return to. Life be lifing, and there's nothing truer ever said. Life be lifing, but what happens in the middle of those seasons is what counts. It helps redefine us. And so for me, it's always been my faith, my relationship with God, coming back to my core to have the quiet moments. And in the quiet moments is where we often have the greatest breakthroughs, because motion does not equal progress. Reflection equals growth, however. So for me, that is what I constantly return to. And so anything that I say, anytime anyone sees me, there's always going to be my acknowledgement of my relationship with God first and foremost. But with, just all of that, I'm also going through menopause. So I got a little bit of crazy. I got a little faith, I got a little wisdom, and I got a little bit of crazy going on with me. And so for those of you ladies who've been there, I ask that you bring a fan when you see me.
I love that. That's so funny. And
you.
so, you have your faith, you also have your relationship, and you and Mike have been married for over 20 years.
So we've been married for going on 16, but we've been together for 22.
Okay.
But he asked me to marry him on the second date, so I think he's still considered 22 years. Yeah.
There we go. And you can tell that just on screen, knowing you on screen, you can tell that your relationship is rich in transparency and knowing each other and building each other up and depending on each other. What advice would you give for women entrepreneurs that are trying to build their brand and their business while also maintaining their relationship and with their family at home?
Here's the truth. I'm still figuring that out. That is the honest to goodness truth. It doesn't matter how long we've been together. It doesn't matter how beautiful, we are on TV, or how inspired people say they are by us. Mike and I still have rough days, and we still have days where I have to remind myself, or he has to remind me, to leave the job and the title at the door. When we come home, we still have to be mothers and wives, and our husbands want to be a peaceful space. They want to come home to peace, is what I'm saying. And they want a soft space to land as well. But how do we do that when, as women, often when we leave, we put on a shield of armor so we can go out in the world and be all the things, right? But often we forget to take the armor off before we come home. And I think that can be detrimental to a marriage and relationships. And quite honestly, that had been a sore spot for us for a long time, is me constantly wearing hats and remembering, though, my husband doesn't work for me. we work together. He has his own business, but he is not one of my employees. And so it's a tightrope walk that I'd love to say some years I have mastered and other years I have failed at. But the beautiful thing that I have found, and this is where I say faith comes in, everything we need is in the word. Everything we need to remind us, how to be a Proverbs 31 woman, or, how to stand in faith, or you let go of control, because that's something else that I personally struggle with. I think is a lot of women probably do struggle with trying to stay in control. Control is not about necessarily our desire to puppet someone else, but often because we're trying to balance so many things without them falling or breaking. And the only way to do that is for us to sometimes feel like we've got it under control, but pressure bursts pipes, right? So so what I have found is, if I can go to my source, to my word, and see here that if you trust in God with all your heart, he's in control. So you can relinquish control. It's all going to be for your higher good and benefit. And that is where I have been able to add more to my plate and learn how to balance better by giving it over. Right? Don't try to hold it all onto yourself, because arms too short to box with God, shoulders aren't as broad. But to be able to pass that over, it takes a load off. So our marriage, we definitely keep God in the middle, because without that, and you have to imagine with television and employees and so much energy and so many voices around us, that we could lose one another very quickly if we didn't.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. And this is just an abridged conversation, so I can't even imagine what we're going to hear at the summit. Thank you for being honest and transparent about that, because my wife and I, we actually just got back from New York City for a trip, because just ourselves, to really ground ourselves, because we have 3 toddlers, so it can be very chaotic at times. So yeah, I just love that you all put God in the center of it all. And you have another thing that I love as well, is the Marriage and Money podcast, right? Yeah. And so, financial literacy is so important, blending relationships with that as well. Why is that conversation to you important to share with others?
Well, here it is at the end of the day. A lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about money. Why? Because many grew up without it or still don't have enough of it. And so it's a level of discomfort. But if we really work on and have a healthy relationship with money, recognizing that it's nothing more than a tool, it has no power over you. Don't let it use you, you use it. And you just get very comfortable, especially with kids. I love to talk to kids about managing money and how to make it work for them, because then it becomes a seed and it grows right over their life into this beautiful tree. But for those of us who've grown up having the uncomfortable conversations, or not having any at all, it's time for us to do that mindset shift. And this is what I said at the conference. I'm talking real stories, reinvention, turning passion into purpose, not losing yourself while balancing family and career, but then these mindset shifts for success that you've got to have. And it's okay if it's late in life. It's okay if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, or 60s, and now you're saying, this is my year, this is my time. Lean in. It's just, and it's wonderful to be able to leave legacy, not debt, when we pass away. I can't tell you how many families, the greater portion of our population, when they leave their families in debt, or with nothing at all at the very least. And so how do we turn that around so that even if we weren't rich in life, that we can change that narrative for the generation that comes after us, just by making a few very smart decisions? So we'll talk about that too.
Well said. Well said. Okay. So as we begin to wrap up, what habits or disciplines help you stay aligned with your purpose?
And I know someone's going to roll their eyes when I say this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. When I get up before the household does, and I sit quietly, meditate, and manifest my day, I set my intentions on what type of day I want to have, that truly, the energy follows. right? Versus me following. I used to get up and the first thing I did was grab my cell phone and start looking. But then you do that and it's all the chaos. Well, then that's how you're starting your day. So I start my day with intention. Then I go to the gym, even if it's 30 minutes. Look, even if you just stare at somebody else lifting weights. but get yourself in the habit of doing something for yourself that, again, triggers the brain to start working in overflow mode. So abundant mode, if you're wondering what I meant by that. So those are two disciplines that I think have helped me to shift big time. Otherwise, we're going to continue doing the same things we've always done and getting the same result, very frustrated. But if we start to inject practices and disciplines into our day and schedule, and I mean keep it with all your might, then you're going to start to see the energy flow different toward you.
Yes, I think that is so important. And I've seen so many times where my day is hijacked by someone else's plans or purpose, and you immediately just feel like you have to please them, but then your day becomes their day. And then at the end of the day, you're beat and you didn't accomplish anything. So I love that you start your day like that, really intentional. And I can't wait to try that more often and let you know how that goes. Okay. So, second to the last question, what legacy do you hope your daughters and future generations of women see in the work that you are doing today?
I ask myself that often because I'm surrounded by women. I have 3 daughters, 4 nieces, and 2 goddaughters. I guess those are nieces too, so 6 nieces. But I am surrounded by women and girls of all ages. And so I often ask myself, if this were my last moment with them, what would I want to say? What would I want them to feel? And that's most important. I determine is not necessarily what we say to people, but how we make them feel. Because they may not remember the words long after we're gone, but they're going to remember your essence. They'll remember the love they felt when you came in the room, the support, the enforcement, the wisdom, to just be very giving, less judgmental. Especially with the younger generation, if you start trying to tell them what to do with their life, forget about it. Because if it's not on TikTok, they don't want to hear it. But with me, whatever room I walk in, my goal is to bring light and to leave it better than I found it, and to really engage in conversation, have meaningful exchange with people. Those are the things they remember.
Once again, well said. I've looked forward to this conversation, but even throughout this conversation, I admire the way that you show up even more, because from what I've seen as a fan watching you and your husband on television, I have seen the authenticity, but then to have that conversation with you, you truly do show up with intentionality and making sure the room feels better and brighter. So thank you for doing that. I really
appreciate that. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'm just realizing I've got the sun on part of my face.
You said shining. There you The sun is shining because you are helping it shine through the work that you're doing.
You're very kind. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful interview and you've been so complimentary. But, for all the women listening, I just want to make sure that you get to the summit, please. March 27th in Memphis. We want to see you in the place. And I'm a hugger, so don't get weirded out, but I do. I'll go around the room and hug everybody. You get a hug and you get a hug and you get a hug. So come bring me all that love.
Absolutely. Once again, you can join Egypt Sherrod at the Junior League of Memphis Develop Her Women's Summit happening March 27th at the Renaissance Convention Center. Egypt, thank you so much for powering the good in our community and around the globe and coming on the cityCURRENT show.
Thank you, Andrew. You have a great one. Bye.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the cityCURRENT show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.
Welcome to the City Current Show, where we spotlight individuals and organizations powering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and today on the City Current Show, we're having a conversation about legacy. March 1st is National Junia Day, a growing movement challenging a centuries-old naming tradition and asking a simple but powerful question. Why have sons long had junior, but daughters never had an equivalent? And joining us to talk about that is Dr. Tamara Nall, founder of the Junia movement. And I'm so excited to learn about this because we've been talking about it just in our social circles recently. So Dr. Nall, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. I'm excited about the conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start off with you personally. Who is Tamara beyond the titles and the movement? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a daughter, I'm an aunt, I'm a sister, I'm a philanthropist, I am an empath. I'm all of those things. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, in a family where my father was the minister, so I was in church a lot. And then after graduating from college, I moved to New York, where I was in consulting for almost a decade, and then started my own business, which has been around for 18 years. We actually do a lot of predictive analytics for federal agencies. And in the meantime, I, really focused on my career in entrepreneurial ventures and not so much my personal life. And that is kind of like the story of Junia.
Perfect. Okay. So what was sort of this moment where you have Junia as an idea and then it comes from like a reflection to vision?
Right. I think that there is a lot of triumph in tribulation or heartache or sorrow. And so basically, as I mentioned, I spent so much time on my professional career, I really didn't think about my personal career. And that journey. And so when it was time to start a family, I suffered from a lot of fertility issues and could not make viable embryos. And also, I lost my mother, who was my best friend, my role model, my mentor, and she passed away unexpectedly. And I just started asking a lot of questions about why and what legacy meant, for me. And how do I define that? And what about my future children, etc. And since I could not have my own children, and since my mother passed away, and I never thought that I would be a mother without her, I decided that, when I have my daughter, I would name her after me. And so then there was this whole journey of research trying to figure out, okay, well, what is the junior equivalent for females and for when mothers name their daughters after themselves? And there was not one. And so to answer your very first question, who am I? I'm a creator. I could go and I can complain and I can talk about the problems all day, but what am I doing to create a solution and to fill that gap? And so I then decided that I would name my daughter after myself, and I came up with the name or the suffix Junia, which is spelled Junia, or abbreviated JN. And that really is the story behind how I came up with the Junia naming tradition.
How can the community help you expand the Junia movement?
Yeah, absolutely. So if the community would go to our website, which is junialegacy.com, that's JUNIA legacy.com. We have a plethora of resources there. We actually have sample naming ceremonies for people. I really want people to get excited about this and more formalize it through a ceremony. We have a declaration of affirmation there as well. We have a certificate, so you can put in the mother's name, the daughter's name, the day you're born, and you can actually print out a certificate. So we have all of those resources. We also have a petition on change.org because now our journey starts to actually get it recognized. So today, if a daughter was born and the mother wanted to name her after herself, she absolutely can on a birth certificate, Junia, JN. The issue will be when you have to go to some database and there's a drop down. If there's not a drop down, you can still use it. And so therefore, we are going down a lobbyist route to get it formally recognized for vital statistics, passport services, Social Security Administration, all of those, so they could be formal. And that will take time, but based on those who I've spoken to who have helped pass legislation, they said that this is like a no-brainer. It
Yeah.
can be added to an omnibus bill. It can work across the aisle. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. We can at least have a win.
Yeah.
And we need some wins. And so that's really, really important there. So we're going down that, right? So just sign the petition. If people want to donate, they can. We have a national registry to register on the website. And then also you can join our circle where we'll send out information about Junia activities that we'll be having nationwide. And so it is, in fact, a movement, and it's something that we can all rally around. And earlier, Andrew, you had mentioned Women's History Month, and that National Junia Day was actually very intentional, and that alignment, because it's the first day of Women's History Month. And in my mind, Women's History Month honors where we've been, but the Junia movement really honors where we're going with feminine legacy and having the ability now to formally name our daughters after our mothers.
It's so cool. And like you said, we totally need a win when it comes to government and legislature. Like, this is, like I've said countless times in this interview, it's a no-brainer. Like, yes, why is this not already a thing? Like, it's so cool. And I love that, once again, you saw a problem and you are solving it.
Thank you for watching the City Current Show. To learn more about each of the guests, to share your stories of others, leading by example, or to watch past episodes and more media focused on good news, visit our website at citycurrent.com or follow along on social media using the handle or hashtag citycurrent. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and thank you for all you do to power the good.